I'm Jeff. A lot of places on the internet, I'm at Giphy. Some places I'm not, but you'll find me if you Google that. I happen to be a software engineer at Red Hat, but this has nothing to do with Red Hat. The main thing this is about is I like making myself laugh. This is a glorified show and tell time. It's also kind of like a campfire story. Hopefully you all find it funny, but I do. Most slides are also GIFs and Twitter screenshots, so I hope everyone is really, really hyped. Originally, when the first date was announced, I was going to spin up an instance of honkCTL for everyone to actually use, and we could actually, watch people play. Unfortunately, I am, like I said, on vacation, so I couldn't put that all on Bob, as you will hear more about Bob later. What I will say, though, is if you follow the link in the slides, and I'll make sure the link is elsewhere, you can actually go and do the challenge yourself so long as you have kind installed, and kind means Kubernetes and Docker. It's a SIG testing subproject, so if you kind of Google Kubernetes kind, you'll find it. So let's talk about geese. The term goose is more properly used for female bird, while gander refers to the specifically male one. Young birds before fledgling are called goslings. The thing that I love is when geese are flying together, they are called a plump. But that's probably not why we're here, and I'll stop reading the Wikipedia page. We're really here to talk about Untitled Goose Game. It was a game created by House, which is an independent studio. And if you go to, in your browser, goose.game, it will resolve, and then you'll learn everything about Untitled Goose Game. The point of the game is you're trying to achieve certain goals, and the way that you achieve these certain goals is tormenting the poor townsfolk. This poor kid is getting scared because the goose is, shouting through a bottle. Poor kid. But another way to look at it is, in general, you're trying to circumvent the town's rules and constructs in order to achieve your own goals, and to hell with the consequences. All you're really trying to do is be a goose and steal a bell, or, grab a rake and put it in a lake, that sort of thing. It's a very free form and simple game, but it's a lot of fun. So there's kind of a timeline for the Kubernetes and Untitled Goose Game and honkCTL thing all happening at once, and I wanted to go over it. Just so everyone understands, this didn't kind of pop up out of nowhere, and here's some of the background on why honkCTL has become a thing. It's really a retrospective from my perspective, but really this is, again, more of a Bob and Jeff story time. And at the end, I'll reveal what the next honkCTL session will be, which I know quite a few people are interested in. Whoop. Yeah, cool. So unfortunately also, I'm on vacation and I'm not here with Bob. Bob is also currently driving down to Toledo because his MacBook battery started bulging, and a quick Google showed that wasn't a good thing. So he's going to fix that, otherwise I would have a friend with me. But Bob and I have been best friends for a very long time. We've been roommates for almost as long and coworkers for almost as long. So we tend to do a lot together. One thing that we do is we are morning people. We get up early, we'll have coffee, and we usually try and just share ideas, think, complain. He and I are like not family members, but we should really be family members. I'm invited over for, the family holidays. And good ideas come from these morning chats. If you've ever heard of shower thoughts, this is our version. So we started chatting about ways we could make the community laugh and have fun in San Diego at the San Diego KubeCon in 2019. And sometimes the ideas are good, sometimes the ideas are great, and sometimes we just don't think. And suddenly we've bought domain names, designed stickers, and emailed people on Etsy before 10 a.m. Coffee time is wonderful, and I promise we don't have a problem. No, we don't. So all of that happened in October. Fast forward not even 2 weeks to November. It is time for KubeCon in San Diego, and we've got our swag. We got our Kubernetes goose stickers. We spun up a quick little gag repo that would essentially have this Bluetooth speaker. Oh, come on, there we go. This Bluetooth speaker would honk given certain criteria. If someone tweeted hashtag Contrib Summit hashtag honk, or hashtag KubeCon hashtag honk, or a couple other things involving test grid, which is the Kubernetes CI system and the Kubernetes repos, you could trigger this Bluetooth speaker to honk because we are sick-sad individuals. But people loved it and people won. We would give them a URL. It was honk.ci. That's a different site now, as I'll get into. But you would go to honk.ci, and then you would see an untitled Goose Game style to-do list. And one of them was, come find Bob and Jeff and honk at us. And then you would get a sticker. One of them was, make the bag honk, and you would get one of those geese plushies. And Alana was one of the winners, and Ian was another. Unfortunately, I'm also doing speaker notes off my phone because, again, I'm not in my normal state of being, so I apologize. So on top of the geese plushies, we also had these geese patches, which a lovely person on Etsy managed to make. I forgot to link their Etsy, but I am definitely going to because she was an amazing person. And once she heard that Bob and I were doing this for this convention for our friends, she literally went, hold on, I'll make more. And she did. Wonderful, mad props. Along the same, at the same time, and unbeknownst to us, a friend of ours, Ian Coldwater, who I now consider the patron saint of honkCTL, decided to give one of the best keynotes I've ever seen, and they're sporting the goose wear, and their entire keynote was about Untitled Goose Game. So there was this combination of multiple independent, unknown events coming together to make Kubernetes more goose-like, and everyone kind of benefited from it. As an aside, just proof that I tend to take things a little too far, a side conversation in the middle of KubeCon San Diego turned into me writing a kubectl plugin that would delete half of the pods in your cluster because, again, like I said, I'm a sick, sad individual. But props to Amit for getting that in literally the same day. So, yeah. The one thing I want to really emphasize, though, is though I'm, saying it's about making me laugh, it's actually about making everyone laugh. We really care about this community. They are our family. And without it, none of this would be fun. So let's fast forward now to December. December was a simpler time. December was simply, what do we do next? Usually for me, December, and also for Bob, we would play catch up. We both come from academia, so mid-December onwards would usually be, okay, let's get a bunch of side projects done, what stuff has kind of built up, and what are we interested in learning? That's how our Decembers would be. I also want to note that for almost all of these screenshots, I had to scroll through pages upon pages of Macho Man GIFs between Jason DeTiberis and myself, and we have a problem there. So the honkCTL challenge came simply from this, just a one-off conversation, much like the kubectl snap plugin. Let's see what I can do in a short amount of time. I wound up taking the repo for the honk notify joke and then brought it in because I had a bunch of Twitter hooks for watching repos, and then used that to start building it. Also, as an aside, I did submit a talk for meme-driven development as a talk at the next KubeCon, CNCF, call me. And it didn't take me long to get just a simple bot that would respond to honkCTL commands on Twitter. So there was a lot of rapid progress. And I also want to point out that once people that were following me saw what I was doing, without me knowing, they decided to try and be their own little goosey selves. And as you can see, that did not take long. We Kubernetes family are geese. We have to try and stretch the boundaries of things. Duffy, you are a wonderful individual and I love you. This was unprompted. So the idea came to me that I should actually after I had run this on my laptop and people were, trying to hack into my laptop. For example, Alex Ellis actually wound up finding my IP address and then letting me know where I lived. That was cute. I realized that a lot of people are having fun with this. We should actually turn this into a sort of CTF type challenge. And, here we are. We turned this idea into a CTF challenge, and I happen to be talking about it. Hammer, meet the fourth wall. So Bob and I got together, figured out what the first challenge should be, figured out a lot of the infrastructure behind it, and then we also set up a website where for the December challenge, people could see Falco, Sysdig's Falco, which is a monitor for security events in Kubernetes and more than just Kubernetes. So the output of our server, as well as all the commands that are being sent to the cluster that we had set up. So that was all, on the web, people could watch it. And then we happened to schedule it for December 20th, which was, we figured, enough time for people to block off an evening. It's before the holidays and people should have some time off. And all we were going to do was kind of the original plan. We're just going to turn it on and watch people have fun. And oh, did they have fun. We wound up hitting the Twitter API limit for a bot to respond in regular replies. So we had to immediately pivot to Slack. Then we had problems with Slack user ID interpretation because Slack does not interpret a username of @gfy. It's more like bracket u, a bunch of characters bracket. And we had to develop this all on the fly. It was a lot of fun on our perspective, and everyone else seemed to have fun that was playing. And then another fun thing, this is again story time with not Bob and Jeff. We had a friend of ours coming in from out of town. And they were arriving at the train station at midnight, and we were going to run the original one from 8 to 11. And everyone was having so much fun, we decided we're just going to let it go as long as people are running until Brian gets here, our buddy from Chicago. This wound up being Bob in my car in the passenger seat with his laptop, watching everything, making sure things are still going on, while I'm driving down the freeway to the train station, and we probably looked a little shady. I got to admit, it was probably something out of Hackers. Everyone had a lot of fun, and then the holidays hit, but in the backs of our minds, we were always thinking about what the next challenge should be. We learned a lot from the December session, and we wanted to do more. Another thing that we were joking around about was this idea of a honkCon. I promise we planned it. A contract was signed, but there's this thing called COVID, and it's getting bumped to next year. So keep your ears open and eyes peeled. So one of the things that we noticed was we wanted to have a more scalable setup than Bob's free GCP credits. And a lot of what happened, a lot of the problems that we ran into were because we had to pivot really quickly when the Twitter API limit failed. So we had to think a little bit further ahead and make sure that more than about 50 people could play. I also want to point out, at this time, both Bob and I were in the middle of buying a house and moving. We ran a small session in between the March session and the December session, but it was mainly us testing out new features and changes and making things break, or watching things break. So it was kind of like a beta honk. But in March, things got real for everyone, not just with this session, but also with COVID. And so we saw that with everyone being inside and not everyone really enjoying the fact that they are going to have to embrace the introvert selves, we should really try and do a March honkCTL session. And so we did. I also will not take any credit for the challenge itself. Bob had this idea, and then like a week later, he came to me and went, "Do you remember seeing Heroes? Save the cheerleader, save the world was the big thing. Well, this was Save the Bell, save the world." And I thought it was great, but I mean, it doesn't take much to make me laugh. There were two teams that won. Ian, Brad, and Duffy kind of formed just an amazing dream team, and then got it within, I think it was 24 hours, and then Anthony Weems got it a couple hours after that. And it was wonderful. I'm not going to talk about this challenge because I do want people to play the March edition, just because Bob put so much time into it. What's interesting about it is you can absolutely try and circumvent like my code that is running the entire game and provisioning all of these clusters, but you can solve this only using kubectl commands. And that was the big thing that Bob wanted to strive for. With native Kubernetes interactions, you can beat this. And like I said, everyone had a lot of fun. Duffy, Ian, and Brad absolutely crushed it, and they get mad props for that. So March is a few months ago. What's been happening since then? One of the things that I've been working on is to make it even more scalable. Behind the scenes, honkCTL is simply I'm provisioning kind clusters and people are breaking them. That can be inherently security vulnerable to security issues. Yeah, but that's also kind of the point. You can approach this problem however you want, and that's okay. The entire goal here is we are just creating a framework for people to go and essentially break Kubernetes how they want. If they want to break it by attacking the cloud layer, if they want to break it by actually going through and trying to circumvent Kubernetes security, you know what? They can do whatever they want. But this was a project that we open sourced because it's a way for you to, it's essentially an operator for you to create kind clusters and K3S clusters within an existing cluster. So yeah, I wanted more people to have eyes on that so we can try and make it better. So what's next? This GIF is kind of a hint. This GIF is also kind of a hint. What these two have in common is there is an attacker and a defender. And that is actually the goal. The winners of the honkCTL from March are going to be the attackers, and everyone else that wants to spin up a cluster and then apply just a kind config and any number of manifests will be able to try and defend themselves from their attacks. We've kind of talked about this for a few months, and everyone involved was, I think the word is giddy. So hopefully everyone has fun with the next one. The problem here is I do not know when we will even have the time to schedule it, because we need everyone's calendars to align, and right now is kind of a poor time for everyone. Hopefully soon we'll be able to figure out dates, but I can't tell you more than it's going to be attack defend, and you already know who's going to be doing the attacking, so prepare yourself. I do want to circle back to this picture, because this picture to me, it embodies everything that I love about the community. It has my friends and my family in it. Like, I literally look at this and I just smile. So this is kind of, if you're not part of the Kubernetes community already, this is a peek behind the curtain of the silly antics and fun we try to have together, while also building a project that a lot of people use and rely on. And this is also my invitation for everyone and anyone. If you are interested in joining the community, there's no barrier to entry. You show up and say you want to help, say what strengths you have, please. We are welcoming of everyone, and we want everyone to be productive, but also have a good time. So with that, I got a little mushy, but I want to just say I love y'all, and go be geese. I also want to point out, because I had no sound coming through my headset, they just shut off.
I was just actually here to tell you we hadn't heard anything for 30 minutes. No, I'm kidding. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I had to take the opportunity there, given that but thank you for sharing that very heartfelt story. And I really appreciate not only the lighter side, but also the side of you are actually doing basically a capture the flag for Kubernetes under the hood there. So stay tuned. I'm very excited about the next honkCTL date. I don't know if I'll be able to defend a Kubernetes cluster against the likes of Dooley and Duffy Cooley and Ian, and yeah, I just don't know that I'd be able to do that. So thanks for all that you do in the community, Jeff, and bringing a light aside to actually create an open ecosystem for everyone. So Jeff will be hanging out in track 1 channel of the Slack for a little bit if you have any questions about, but we want to make sure you actually get back to vacation too. And I couldn't help but think about Bill and Ted's awesome adventure, so I had to get a tweet out of both of them. It's you and Bob actually building this together. So thanks for sharing your story. Very much appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good one.
Excellent. So we have a 5-minute break now. So go stretch your legs and we'll see you back here in about 5 minutes. Thank you.
In Commedia dell'arte and later opera, the character of the worldly wise SRE emerges as a mechanism for plot advancement and for comedy, working as a foil to the ingenue. Projecting cheerful competence, the archetype tacitly acknowledges the reality of servant leadership, mocks the ineffectuality and fecklessness of nobility, and pokes fun at male pretension. The light and agile soprano vocal type required for these roles is now labeled with a French name for this character archetype, soubrette. In the following excerpt from Così fan Kubernetes, the soubrette SRE Despina explains new options in deployment to her tech bro. Note, due to quarantine and essential jobs restrictions, the role of Despina will be performed by a sock puppet and voiced by a format synthesizer from Yamaha designed for producing J-pop virtual idol videos.